Alright, guys, so we're back yet again, and we are going a little bit back in time here. We have a older movie we are going to be talking about. We are going to be talking about Disney's Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. Wow. I I did not think that we were going to be seeing that. I could have swore I did a video on this, but I didn't. And if you guys are anything like me, you more than likely watched this as a kid because this was probably one of the best movies on Disney in its time frame. So if you guys are not familiar with this, then you may recognize a few people. We have, of course, Caroline Ray, who plays as Lynette, but of course, I know her from Sabrina the Teenage Witch as, of course, Sabrina's aunt. Then we have, this is what was hilarious. We have the man himself, Charles Chenesse, who played as Mr. Sheffield, as, of course, Dimitri, who is the vampire in this movie. And we have a young Matt O'Leary. We have a very young Laura uh, Vanderroop as well. So the entirety of this movie is Lynette is just a very strict mother. She's trying to raise three kids after a bad divorce, and her young son, he's a very much of a horror freak, and him and his sister get in trouble. The sister wants to go out. He wants to go out to a concert. So they come up with an idea in the ads. Hey, let's set mom up in the classified ads. Now again, for those of you younger, that is when you did that in the paper. That's what you did. And they contact this guy by email. This was again, they showed the square computer. Oh god, I'm showing my age. But this was in 2000. So what happens is they try to meet, and they think it's one guy that they come across, even though it's not. And Dimitri shows up, and the youngest son, Taylor, he finds out that he's a vampire. He starts asking his brother questions, and he's like, "Oh my god, mom's got a date with a vampire." And then Adam, even though he tries to take his brother and say, "Hey, everything's okay. It's just your imagination getting the best of you," but unfortunately, he sees that his mother is on a date with a vampire. And again, he's a horror expert, so he's like, "Okay, what do I do?" And his sister slowly starts realizing that her brother's telling the truth, and so she goes along with this idea of, what do I do? And her and her brother were close, but then they had this issue, but then they come back to being closer because they try to figure out different ways of having to deal with a vampire. And I will give credit to where credit is due, because for, again, someone to play Mr. Sheffield and then come across as very conniving, manipulative, very sneer, and just, charismatic and charming, but still be a monster. He did a good job with this character. Even though, again, it was a Disney film, he did very well with this character. And it was very funny because there's a line in the movie where he keeps, uh, Adam gets his coffin and he goes in the water, and he's just like, the deal is your coffin for my mother. And he says, I got a better plan. And he says, your sister for the coffin. He says, or I could just turn her. And then when even he does this, he's like, okay, it's done. He says, well, I sold my mother. He's like, well, Adam, we had an agreement. He says, I never was going to keep my end of the bargain either. And then they continue to keep fighting. And what's so funny is he just starts looking at him. He's like, what is it with this family? He goes, your kids, I'm a vampire. And again, it is true, because you got to think, because it is a vampire, however many years old, that is going up against children. And they're causing him a headache. And it's funny. But what ends it is between the character they meet, which is so-called Abraham Van Helsing, which could be a descendant of the original Van Helsing, has a history with Dimitri, which we never really go into, unfortunately, which I really wish they did, or they did like a part two or something. But again, this movie was a one and done, and they are able to seal him. And it seems like Van Helsing and Lynette at the very end kind of have like a little bit of chemistry going on. And at the very end, of course, it's kind of like, Dimitri's like, oh, hey, this is Joe, happy Halloween, and the movie ends. But overall, if you guys are fans of 90s, if you grew up watching Sabrina Teenage Witch, The Nanny, other Disney movies, then again, give this movie a shot. Again, give this movie a shot. To me, it's a classic. I love it. I watch it almost every Halloween, and I miss movies like this. I miss Disney movies like this when it was a good story, good characters, good character development, and funny. And I miss that. And I really wish they would just go back to that. But overall, hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Comment down below if you guys have seen this film. Comment down below. I want to know how many people remember this film. Who remembers the good Disney? Who remembers the good Disney back in the day? Turning on the channel, on Disney Channel, and seeing the Disney, combining Halloween, commercials before it would go into the show or movie. Who remembers that? Because I did. I remember that, and I loved it when I was a kid. I wish that we had it now. But overall, guys, what do you think about it? Let me know, and I'll see you as always on the next one.